Hey, how's it going, everybody? It's Gabe Crane again with Woven Wings, and today's video that we're focusing on is focusing on what we can control and responding effectively to stress. As one starting point for this, you may have heard it, it's pretty famous, the serenity prayer is something we can think about for our framing. God, Spirit, Creator, whoever that is, give me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. So what does that really mean? How do we actually apply that and use that in our life? So to start, the first thing that I want to frame for you and recognize is that uncertainty and risk are baked into life. If you think you've gotten away from those things, that might be a great feeling, but that is largely an illusion. Life takes place in this very fragile bandwidth, this very fragile window where things are kind of somehow going along. And that's part of what makes it so amazing and somewhat miraculous that we have everything that we have, because there are so many things that are uncertain, that are unknown as far as what will happen with life. And so stress and the urge to control really comes up in response to that risk and that uncertainty. And so this is the first thing to recognize, is just those things exist, okay? They are there. You're not going to be able to get them to go away. You can manage them, you can mitigate them, but they will always be there. And if you think otherwise, you're kind of telling yourself an illusion. But at the same time, so that's maybe the bad news, although I think it is good news, but you might be thinking about that as bad news. But the good news is the second point, which is that underneath or alongside that uncertainty and risk, there's really the reality that things are ultimately going to work out. We might not feel that way in our own individual life if we're really identified with ourselves. But if we look at life, look at nature, even the biggest crises and challenges that we're facing right now, like climate change, the reality is that even if everything really goes to crap, life is going to go on, nature is going to go on. Even if life were to be totally destroyed on this planet, which is in itself really questionable, human life might be destroyed, but nature will continue. And even if life didn't continue on this planet, well, life and nature is much bigger than the planet Earth, right? If we think about the universe, it will go on. And so just to zoom out, not to get overly cosmic or anything on you, but that's really the reality of things, is that life is always changing and developing. And what we think of as success from our own limited perspective is actually not that relevant in that bigger picture of things. And so to recognize that we can actually connect with that too, amidst the uncertainty and risk and the stress that creates for us, ultimately things are actually working out. And so that right there can already give a lot of peace. If we can connect with that and kind of disengage a little bit from our own personal struggles and problems, we can recognize there's so much to appreciate in life, so much to be grateful for, and some wonderful process that we are a part of that's always transforming and growing. So that can be really, really comforting, and it's a gateway to a lot of insight and understanding. The third point is that, okay, yes, all of that is true, and you are an individual. You are your unique self, and you have your own preferences and wants. That's normal, and that's okay. It's natural. You want to accomplish certain things. Now, in doing this, it's really important to check back in with that last point I just made, which is that we're actually all, even though we have our own individual identities, we are part of this greater thing. And sometimes when we lose track of that, the things that we end up wanting and preferring are maybe not actually in line with what's truly important, what truly is for our benefit. So the third point is to really check ourselves. We do have these preferences and wants. That's natural. That is okay. That's good in a certain way. Which are the ones that are acting themselves out right now? Are they really things that are ultimately good for us? Or are they more passing things? Do they connect and align with our deeper values and truths? So doing this reflection and exercise can help put things in perspective. And it's important because that way you can better ensure that you're not going to be spending a bunch of time and energy going after something that ultimately is not actually serving you, that ultimately becomes kind of a waste of time in a certain way. This is the third point to check out. And just because something is serving your ego, again, doesn't mean that you shouldn't necessarily do it. It's just that it needs to be coming into balance with the wider framework of your life and what really, really matters. It's natural that we all want to be unique. We do have these egos. They help us in certain ways, and so we can embrace that. Fourth point is that once you've really reflected on this and connected the dots and aligned what it is that you are after, and making sure that it really lines up with your deeper purpose, your higher self, your true self, then recognize what you can control and what you can't control in relation to those goals and get after it, And this is where that serenity prayer really comes in, to accept the things I cannot change, exert or have the courage to control the things that I can and affect change, and have the wisdom to know the difference. And so when we really think about this is where we have to really reflect on what can we actually control and what can we not. Things we cannot really control are the outside world, the environment. We can try to influence them. We could control our effort that we make there, but we cannot control what other people are going to choose to do. We cannot control the weather. We can't control natural disasters. Again, we influence them. I just talked about climate change earlier. I know someone's out there thinking, oh, but we do affect the weather. Yes, there's a symbiotic relationship here. But if we think about what are we individually impacting, we can't really affect or control, especially with certainty, the outside environment. At the same time, what we actually can control is more of ourselves, right? We can control our response to a situation. We can control the kind of information that we choose to connect with, the inputs that we put in. We can control the effort we make. We can work to be as clear and as positive and as focused as we can to create the successful outcome that we are seeking and to create the conditions for that successful outcome. So alongside that, one of the things that is really helpful in this, and I talk about this in some of my other videos in more detail, you can check that out, but is getting into a calm, relaxed, and natural state. Okay, we can notice if in the midst of this uncertainty, working for what we want, we're starting to get too stressed out, right? There's a lot of energy flowing in, we're feeling fear, we're feeling that adrenaline, but it's too much. Well, then we can take actions to help us discharge that. Can bring ourselves back into a calm, relaxed, and natural state, which is where we're going to be able to see everything clearly, where we're going to be able to focus on what are the best outcomes, where we're going to be able to think creatively about our response. That's how we're going to be growthful in the situation, right? So if we're having trouble getting into that state, sometimes it could be one of two things. If it's too much energy, we can do certain activities to help bring that back into balance. You can go exercise and work out, discharge some of that energy, get it to move. You can go talk to a family member or a friend, a confidant, to vent and just share about what's going on and get feedback from them. On the flip side, if we're feeling lazy, avoidant when we're encountering this existential uncertainty, the risk and intensity of life, well, then we can really try to connect with tools like what we're talking about in this video. We can remind ourselves that our time on this planet is limited, that there's really only a certain amount of opportunities that we have to make this effort, and to use that as motivation to go for it, to turn and to face the fears, face the uncertainty, and actually maybe get a little bit more adrenaline going so that we can get into more of this flow state. So really, when I'm talking about this, what we're really thinking about is this kind of experience of riding the wave, right? We're trying to ride the wave of life. It's not about being so comfortable that everything is all squared away and rosy, because that's an illusion. And it's also not running around like a chicken with our head cut off because, we're dealing with uncertainty and risk. This is how we put ourselves into a leadership mindset, how we are looking after ourselves, taking care of ourselves to be the best version of ourselves that we can be. So that's really riding this wave, finding the balance point, harnessing the energy of life so that it's not too taut and it's also not too slack, so that we get into a rhythm and flow of pursuing the goals that we have identified that are in alignment with our true self, with our higher purpose. And if we stay focused on this and follow through on this when we wake up, and bring ourselves back to this when we're getting distracted, and learn from what we do and its effect and get feedback on that, and we give our best effort, then we will 100% feel satisfied that we did our best when we're ending our day. If you go about your day thinking about those things front and center and making that effort in every moment that you can remember, and you make that your consistent practice, you are going to experience wonderful success in your life. And that's what I can really guarantee. You're going to increase significantly the likelihood that whatever the specific goals you have for you are actually accomplished, because you're taking ownership of your own circumstance. You're controlling what you can control, which makes it much more likely that you will succeed. And then regardless of the outcome, you're going to feel this deep sense of satisfaction that you gave your all, and recognizing with wisdom what was in your control and what wasn't. And so regardless of the outcome, you're going to be in a better position to direct your life and feel positive about yourself. So that's real meaning and growth. So in conclusion, just it's worth it to think about, like, who truly has it made in life. Sometimes you think about people with a lot of money or whatever it is, but the reality is that the universe is always going through developments and changes. So if you put this approach into practice, you will be more of the person that has that understanding, the strength, and the ability to create the life that you are desiring. Again, regardless of whether it looks exactly like you plan, if you shoot for the moon, you're going to end up in the stars, regardless of what takes place. Just want to share all that with you. I know it was a lot. You can go back and rewatch the video. This is kind of step by step. And I think if you do follow this protocol, you'll really get some guidance into how to make real progress in your life. Okay, so let's all try to make peace with the fact that, man, there is a lot of uncertainty out there. And let's do what we can to uplift our lives and make the world a better place. Okay, take care, good luck, and I'll see you next time.